friends, how you doing? Ilko, the Zoo Drive Man here. Thanks for stopping by and welcome to another episode with this guy. Today is finally time for the long delayed and even longer anticipated, by me at least, shading of light on the advanced tone settings, or properly called advanced tone customization of the Zoo Drive. All that I'm going to be talking about today is controlled by this, and it is right here. Now, this little switch has an enormous power. Depending on the circuit you can put it in, you can blow up buildings, cities, whole planets, but we're gonna keep things simple and humble here and limit ourselves to only blowing our minds. Now, today's video can actually become quite a journey because I'm planning on taking you all the way from here to here. And let me show you again. Starting from here and finishing here. And of course we're gonna make a few stops in between, but I'm sure you noticed that I did not even touch the controls on the front panel of the unit. All the knobs, all the switches are staying intact, and the huge difference in tone that you heard was just done by flipping the switches that are inside the Zoo Drive. Okay, I'm sure you noticed that too, but I have to tell you the sound that you heard is coming from the Zoo Drive plug directly, connected directly, and not going through a cabinet or a cabinet simulator. And the reason is because I want you to hear the full sonic spectrum or the full sonic impact of the settings that I'm changing. After that, of course, I will try those same settings going through a cabinet simulator because I want you to hear how those things would have sounded, going through a cab. But please remember that the main purpose of this demo is not to demonstrate the quality of the Zoo Drive, although that it would do that to a certain degree, but rather to show you the range and the depth of the pedal's advanced settings. Okay, since we're talking about advanced tone settings or advanced tone customization, I have noticed that some people, and I have been one of them, when they hear the word advanced, they are thinking complicated, difficult to use, hard to choose, all these kind of things. Well, this shouldn't be the case with the Zoo Drive, and this is because the advanced tone settings of the pedal are controlled by a single 4-pole dip switch. Now, this dip switch is divided in two sections. Poles 1 and 2 are controlling the behavior of the mid frequencies, where poles 3 and 4 are controlling the two-stage high-cut filter. So, let's begin with the mids. Switch 1 or pole 1 of the dip switch is responsible for turning on and off about 30% of the mids, whereas switch 2 is responsible for about 60% of the mids. Now, these two total up to 90%, and you might be wondering what happens to the other 10%. Well, they pass anyway because you are always going to have some mids in your overall signal, but try to focus on those 90% because those are quite a lot and those are the ones that you have control over. Now I'm going to go ahead and play you some demos, and please try to follow the changes that I make to the settings which are going to be displayed on the screen and how these changes relate to what you're hearing. I have to remind you, or actually notify you, tell you that the high-cut filter, both stages of the high-cut filter of the Zoo Drive will be engaged. The high-cut filter will be turned on because I'm still connected directly. I'm not going through a cab or amp simulator or anything like that. And therefore, I want the sound to be a little more bearable and pleasant to listen to. Alright, I hope that was cool. Now I'm gonna turn off the high cut filter and try the same settings of the mid frequencies without it, because I want you to hear that as well. The sound's going to be a little harsher, but that's of course to be expected. And then when I'm done, what I'm going to do, I will talk about the high-cut filter a little bit. We'll show you kind of what it does. And then after that, we're going to finish with, trying the same settings, but going through a cabinet simulator. So a lot more cool stuff coming. So, the high-cut filter of the zoo drive. What is it and what does it do? Well, I'm not so sure if I can tell you what it is, because that way I may jeopardize, the lives and well-being of all my personnel working up in my labs in orbit, because this kind of technology had to be developed in a weightless environment. But instead, I can tell you what it does. Yeah, sorry for messing with you guys. I was just trying to be funny, I guess, that's all. Now, the high-cut filter of the zoo drive, just like almost any other filter there is, it's an RC circuit, that's what it is. And in the beginning I mentioned that it is being controlled by poles 3 and 4 of the dip switch. Pole 3 controls the first stage of the high-cut filter, and pole 4 controls or turns on and off the second stage of the high-cut filter. Alright, school's out now, let's play some more. But before that, just briefly, on several occasions I had the audacity and even the eloquence to suggest that the zoo drive can be played directly, not even going through a cab. Now, I realize that a statement like that can get some guitar players into such an emotional state that arrangements for my execution may be initiated immediately and in progress by the end of this video. However, being as willing as I am to take my risks, let me tell you what I had in mind, because this relates directly to the question why there is a high-cut filter in the zoo drive at all. The main purpose of the high-cut filter of the zoo drive is to cut or remove some of the frequencies that a guitar speaker cannot produce. And I have to tell you, probably over 90% of what a cabinet simulator is doing, whether analog or digital, probably over 90% of what it's doing is applying EQ. Of course, along with simulating certain resonance through convolution techniques is what they're called. But most of what it's doing is applying EQ, and this is because a cabinet simulator is designed to take your direct guitar signal and cut from it those frequencies that a guitar cabinet cannot produce, while emphasizing other frequencies which are more pronounced in the cabinet that is being simulated. Now, as far as the high-cut filter, the zoo drive is far from being a full-blown cab simulator. Of course, it is not, but at least it embraces the same idea, and if you allow me, I can give you a couple of examples. Okay, for this demonstration, I'm going to try to stay away from using the controls in the front panel of the unit, because the point is really for you to see the range and scale of the high-cut filter and the difference that it makes. Therefore, I also will engage and disengage, enable and disable both stages of the high-cut filter together, so you can see the maximum amount of difference that it makes. Okay, this is with the high-cut filter fully disabled. And this with the high-cut filter fully enabled. Now, yet another really cool feature of the high-cut filter, the zoo drive, which even further multiplies your tonal possibilities with the pedal, is the fact that it actually changes the behavior of the treble control of the unit. And the treble control here is called hiss. Here's how it works. when you have the high cut filter disabled and you turn up the treble control, it actually raises a whole bunch of frequencies starting from a certain point in the mids and going upwards to the upper limit of the frequency range. It raises all those high mids and high frequencies. When you turn the high cut filter on, it chokes most of the highs, and so then when you are turning up the treble control, it's actually turning up only those frequencies that have not been affected by the high cut filter. When you turn it down, it just lowers those same frequencies, and pretty much those are in the range of the mids and the high mids. And let me show you how this sounds. I'm going to show you how the treble control works with disabled and with enabled high cut filter. Now let me enable the high cut filter. Disable it again so you can see the difference again. By the way, guys, did you want to hear my clean tone? I'm sorry for not showing it to you earlier, but it's not much of a tone. It's I'm still plugged in direct, so there's not much to hear. It's like hooking up your guitar to your stereo or something like that. But here it is. At least this will give you a chance to hear the kind of a difference that the zoo drive makes when I turn it on. You know, guys, while I'm still here, meaning plugged in direct, I want to revisit for a brief moment the clipping control of the zoo drive, because it was of course explained in my previous video, the complete overview. But when I was watching it, I noticed that from the position of a viewer and just a listener, you couldn't probably tell if it makes that much of a difference. So now you're gonna have a lot better chance while I'm playing the pedal direct, and I'm gonna demonstrate it with and without a high cut filter. Now, first, the first sample is gonna be without the high cut filter engaged. Right now we are on soft clipping. Hard clipping. Now this is hard clipping. Back to soft clipping. Now let's try with a high cut filter engaged. Starting with soft clipping again. Hard clipping. And soft clipping again. Okay, that was it. Now let's play some more, but this time using a cabinet simulator. Alright guys, it's finally time to try going through a cab. I'm going to be using my mouse here to turn things on and off on my computer. And here's for the last time our direct signal. And from now on, we're only going to be hearing things going through the cabinet simulator. So here's the direct. Now, as far as what kind of a cabinet I'm using, it is standard 4x12, and I'm going into a clean channel. How clean? Here. Now for this sound sample, the high cut filter is going to be turned off and the mids are on position 1. And I'm also going to crank the gain all the way up in order to show you, what kind of a sustain the Zoo Drive can provide by itself. Okay, for this next sample, the gain is back to 12 o'clock. The high cut filter is completely disabled and the mids are up a notch. Pole 1 of the dip switch has been turned off, pole 2 has been turned on. And we're going to try a couple different things here, but most interestingly probably is we will try to find out, is there any point of using the high cut filter since we are going through a cabinet simulator? Okay, this first will be with the high cut filter fully disabled. Clean tone. Now let's try to turn on the high cut filter. As you can see, we are lacking highs, and this is normal because we have cut them off. Now we're going to try to compensate that by turning up the treble control, but of course it will not give us the same highs that we have lost with the high cut filter. It will replace them with rather high mids. Here. And if this sound is still too muffled, too soft, and all dull for you, let's try something else. Let's try to leave one of the stages of the high cut filter on and disable the other one. I'm going to disable stage number 1 and just leave on stage number 2. Here's the difference. Well, it does make a difference, I think so. Alright guys, we're almost done here. All of the samples that you've been hearing throughout this demo have been sort of high gain demonstrations pushing the Zoo Drive to its gain limits. Now this last sample, we're going to try something different. We're going to throw away some of the dirt, cool things down, and I'm going to flip the gain switch from heavy mode to a light mode right here. I also have coil tapping in my guitar, so when I pull them up, my humbuckers become single coils. And so let's see what kind of sounds we can get with those settings. thus concludes our demonstration. We're done here. Patience has never been one of my strongest virtues, but apparently it's one of yours since you have managed to endure this far without skipping too much, I hope. Now, I have only one more thing to show you and two more things to tell you. I never showed you how easy it actually is to gain access to those advanced settings to the dip switch that I've been talking about throughout this video. All you have to do is unwind this nut by hand. You don't need any tools for that because it will come off easy enough, but at the same time, it can never come off by itself. It can never unwind itself because the panel is springing back against it strongly enough to prevent it from freely rotating. But it's easy enough to unwind it by hand. Remove the panel, flip the unit upside down, and there is your dip switch where you can make your advanced settings. Also, from this point on, it's really easy to replace your battery because here's the battery holder, comes off out. Real easy. You replace your battery, put it back in. It goes in tightly enough to prevent it from rattling on the inside when you're moving the pedal. And once you're finished with all these procedures, put the panel back on, twist the nut, and you're good to go. Alright guys, the very last thing that I'm going to say in this video begins with a question. And the question is, do you know what this is? No, not too fast. Alright, look closely. There should be similarities, but also differences. This is the overdrive version 1, and I'm going to be giving this pedal away. But it's not going to be just this pedal, it's going to be one more like this one. There's going to be two pedals that I will be giving away. Now this one is my personal working prototype of the pedal, the one that I have used to make changes to and trying to figure out what exactly the design of the pedal should be, electronically speaking. And it's something that I hold very, very dear to my heart. Now from this version of the unit, I ordered parts for like 10. I assembled 6. I sold 1, I gave away 4, and this is the only one that I have left. In order for me to be able to give away 2 of those, I'm going to have to assemble 1 more. Now, the rules for participation will be as easy, as fair, and as simple as they can possibly be, and they will be announced between tomorrow, Friday, January the 30th, and the next Friday, February the 6th. So make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, stick around my Facebook page, and soon during this week time you're gonna find a short video explaining the rules for participation along with a short demo of this pedal. There's gonna be 2 winners, as I said. The first winner will be selected randomly from the names on camera, from the names of all the people that have met the criteria for participation. The second winner will be chosen by me based on how well I think he meets or they meet the criteria for participation. All this is going to be announced, so stick around. I also have the boxes here. Now this actually is the very first box that I made, trying to settle on what to put on it and the tone of the wood, the color of the wood. This is what it looks like on the inside. But then later on I settled on this design. And this is the kind of box I sent to Chappers, to Captain Lee Anderton, and to those friends of mine whom I gave pedals away. So thank you again, guys. Thank you so much for your patience. Stick around if you want to win a overdrive version 1. Don't for a second think that this is something that I'm giving away because I don't like it or is something that doesn't sound good or anything like that. This is great sounding pedal. Is something that I hold very dear to my heart. As a matter of fact, part of my heart should be somewhere in here if you look closely. You should be able to find it. But I'm giving it away because this is something very rare. It's not going to be manufactured anymore. It's discontinued. So it's going to be something very unique. And those who win it will have something really not to be on the market anymore. Thanks again. God bless you. Signing out. Go.